can hear you, Doc.
All right, thank you. I was saying that life becomes easy to the extent and to the degree you are knowledgeable in an area. Article writing is not an exemption. So, in this case, you will find out that people find themselves in situations whereby they write articles severally to credible journals, top-rated journals in their field, and those articles get rejected over and over. And at some points, people will have to settle for the low-hanging fruits by publishing in predatory journals, which publishes very fast, which publishes poorly written articles. But if we know or we are skillful in the art of writing, we will not stoop that low to settle for low quality journals. And that is why we are here this morning. We are here to let you know that it is doable and we can do it. You can do it. Our training this morning will be in 3 parts. Please, if you are using your laptop and you don't have enough power, please, you can make use of your phone if battery is exhausted. So we're going to be having 3 sessions. The first session would expose participants to the reasons, the factors underlying rejections. I remember the first time my article was rejected, I took it so personal, it affected me. And I know that is how it is for almost every researcher. So we are going to be looking at what are those reasons behind rejection. That is the first part. The second part, we will touch on gaps. We realize that some people still don't have good grasp of gaps. How do I identify a gap? And we eventually go back to where we stopped last week, which is writing introduction. So we choose to go this route so that when you know the trap, you will know how to avoid it. When you know how the people you are dealing with thinks, if you know how they think, it will enable you to adjust and take a good posture when you write. So when that is sorted, we can now move to the foundation briefly. Where does it start from? Where does article writing start from? Then, when we are done with that, we can now look at the very beginning. How does the various parts of articles fit together? What are the components that are required, particularly introduction for today's class? Because it is at the introduction that, you make the first impression. And if you fail to do it at that point, it becomes an issue. So that is going to be the trajectory of this morning class. Colleagues, I hope that is clear. So
yes, sir.
Let us start
yes, sir.
with thank you. Let us start with the very first part, which is getting to this call of the people we are dealing with. And who are these people? We are dealing with the reviewers, we are dealing with the editors. Those are the two people we are dealing with. And until the two of them say yes, the manuscript goes nowhere. So how do they think? How do you play the game? We need to understand that strong papers get rejected, particularly when you are aspiring to publish in journals that are at the top, that are Q rated in the rank of Q2, Q1 in your feed. The odds are there. Now, for those who have not published before, for those who are just beginning, who are beginners, you may not aim for Q1, Q2 for now, except you have been trained, except you have a co-author who is granted. For example, you can co-publish a Q1 journal, article with your professor, is allowed, or a senior colleague in your field, even if he or she is not your professor. If that person has, established his footing in that area, you can do that. But doing it alone, sometimes, if you are not well grounded in the art of writing, you will find out that you'll be getting rejections. So even if what you did is averagely okay, even if other journals can still publish that conveniently, but when it comes to top-rated journals, their standard is up and up and up. So I just said that, by the way, to take care of those who are who are beginning afresh. But for those who are of mid-career and who are senior in our midst, the statistic you have online should resonate. And why am I saying this? I'm saying this because we have seen situations whereby people publish as much as 50 articles and none of them is in accredited journal or accredited list or index journal, let alone being within the bracket of Q-rated journal, yet they have reached almost the peak of their careers. So in other words, they publish articles in quarters that are easy to publish. Some, I don't want to go into details, but what I'm saying in essence is that it is possible to have 50 articles published, and those 50 articles, maybe one or two of them are in, reputable journals in their feed. So, and what usually causes this sometimes is one, knowledge gap. They don't have the knowledge of, let me put it that way, have the knowledge of the kind of training we are doing right now. So they wouldn't have been trained. It was as a result of trial and error. And by the time, and for sure, if you are publishing an article in some journals, they don't scrutinize it as they should. Association journal, departmental journal, some institutional journal, some local journal, predatory international journal. If you are publishing in those journals, they only care about, we want to publish. The predatory journal only care about the money they want to collect from you. They can receive a manuscript from you today and publish tomorrow. All right? But when such individual now wants to change gear by saying, oh, I also want to publish in index journal, top-rated journals, you find out that the story becomes a different thing altogether. Why? All along, that person had been shunning out paper to those quarters, and there was never a rejection or any restraint. But now they want to publish in top journals in that field at a global level, and the standard is beyond what they can cope with. So they take, they reverse, and that is the end of it. So this statistic can resonate with the number of those set of people that I'm talking to. So one thing we should know is this: some journals, particularly journals that are within the bracket of the top 5 in your feed, to a very good extent, even if your paper is strong, they have the norm of, we are going to only accept between 8 and 10% of submissions. So that's to say that if you submit to such journal, around 5% of the journals in your feed, you will find out that that journal, that article may not, may not fly, may not be published. And it might not be because your article is not good enough. I'm just trying to balance some things here. I've said some parts for those, I earlier said for those whose background and technical know-how about article writing is not in good shape from the foundation, that is a different thing altogether. In this case, the statistic you see on the screen, it's made up of both good articles, good manuscripts, sound manuscripts, and those that are not as sound as one would expect. So put together, Nature is one of the most highly rated journal in the world. They only accept 8% of the submissions to them. Meaning if they have 100,000 submissions, they will only accept 8% of it. And another journal is Science. That journal only accepts 7% of submissions. And you need to know how people around the world crave to have their articles published in this journal. And some of these journals charge as much as $10,000 to get published in them. $13,000 to get published in them. So, because when you have your article on this platform, it's as good as your name is written with gold in your feed. You are one of the less than 3% in your feed, best in your feed, for your article to feature in this place. So what about Cell? Cell is another one. 8% of articles get submitted, get published in Cell. Everything I'm saying, they are backed up with, they are backed up with research and statistics. So number one, they have a norm of restricting themselves to the best of the best. And they believe that by the time they get to 8%, 7%, they will have attained that percent, that number of article novelty, submission novelty that they need. But the point is this: if and only if you can pull through that 8% by crossing the editor's table to a reviewer, your chance becomes increased to as much as 38% that, oh, I have the chance of being published here. So colleagues, let's get to know that. That is for the journals that are almost outside the reach of an average or mid-career researcher, except that researcher has done his homework. Okay, so let's just take note of that. That's on a general note. So why do credible journals reject manuscripts? Why? Now, colleagues, we need to understand certain things. You find out that in many cases, in the departmental journal, local journal, association journal that we used to submit to, when you submit the article or the manuscript and you pay the publication fee, there is every likelihood that the article will be published because you have paid. And if at all there will be review, the review will be minimal such that the article may not, be rejected, except it's, very, very bad. I mean, it's not, it's poorly written. So and even some of the predatory journal, their publication trajectory, that is the process of publication, is usually from manuscript submission to when you submit to the editor send it to reviewer, then the reviewer might do some, if it is predatory journal, they do some revision, revision that are not thorough. A situation whereby you submit an article to a journal today and the manuscript gets returned to you tomorrow or next tomorrow, just to do few things, no thorough review, and it comes back to you, and the next thing is publication. The same thing goes for this set of journals I'm talking about. Do I mean that there are no local journal or institutional journal in your country that are still credible? They are there. I must say that they are there. But I want to say that majority, or nothing less than 40%, 50% of these departmental journals, association journal, they are not as thorough as what this index journal, as much as this index journal will be thorough. So this represents their review process from manuscript submission up until publication. It's more or less a straight line, more or less. The pushback you have can be minimal. But when it comes to publication in top-rated journals, it's a different ball game. It's a different ball game. The moment you submit your manuscripts to a journal, the executive editor, chief editor, will receive it. Once it lands on their table, they quickly determine, they determine whether the article is worth being reviewed or not. At that point, they can reject it or ask for a request. We also need to know that it is possible for you to write an editor in the first place, send your manuscript to him to ask, hello, sir, is this manuscript fit for your journal? Do I go ahead to submit? That is, if they have the time, they will respond to you. Rather than you submitting it and it gets rejected immediately. So if you contact them, they can respond to you, let you know the status of the article or the manuscript at that point in time. If it's worth submitting or is not worth submitting. But if you submit outrightly, they can reject it without giving you any reason. And you will find out that many people will have received rejection that doesn't come with any form of explanation. Okay? Then, if that is not the case, on many occasions, they send such manuscripts to associate editor. Associate editor are like assistant editors. So assistant editor can look at it, and if it doesn't fall within the scope of the journal, or is below the standard they expect, or it cannot sell their journal, because these people are into it for business. Many of them, especially journals that are not institutional based, journals that are not society based, journals that are in for the money, they know it when they see that this journal can promote us, this article can promote us or not promote us. Then the associate editor will do the same if the editor himself does not have enough time to do that. Then, if the associate editor okays the manuscript The manuscript goes to reviewer 1 and reviewer 2. And in some cases, in the process of you submitting the manuscripts, there are journals that will request that you submit the names of reviewers you think can review your work. They can be 5, they can be 3 or 2. That does not mean that those are the people that will review the work. What they do most time is to use search as a means of building their database of reviewers. So they may not. The chances are very high that they will not use any of the people that only of the scholars that you recommended. All right. Then when it gets to those reviewers, and remember, the reviewers can be up to 4, up to 3, 4, and 5 in some cases. It all depends on the type of journal and the pool of reviewers they have. It is the aggregate of their decision that will determine what the editor does, whether to approve, whether to accept or reject. Now, when those reviewers review, associate editor will do the compilation of the evaluation, that is the review by them, add comments and take decisions. And in some cases, the reviews can take different, can be of different levels or different status. It could be minor, it could be moderate, it could be major revisions. If it is a major revision, or if it's a minor revision or moderate revision, the author is expected to respond to the revisions, the comments, and send it back to the associate editor, who will later send it back to the executive or chief editor for final decision. And I must say something at this point, colleagues. It is not binding on the chief editor to publish an article that has been okayed, that has been approved for publication by reviewers. The final decision lies with the editor. Reviewers can also say an article should be rejected. Chief editor can say otherwise. No, we are publishing this. So now you can see that it's not a smooth sail. There are a lot of decisions that have to be made before your article gets published. So if it is a major revision and you respond to it and they are not satisfied, sometimes the reviewers can say they want to see your revision before you send it. When you send it to the associate editor, they want to see it. So the associate editor will have to route it back to them again. Then if they are okay with it, if they clear it, then it can go for further processing, which is the decision of the editor. But in a situation whereby the major revision was not well revised or was not up to their own conviction, does not satisfy their requirements, the article has a chance of being rejected. Okay? Now, if the associate editor, having received the report from the reviewers, is pleased with the report, he will go ahead to say, he will recommend acceptance to the executive editor. The executive editor can look at it and say, okay, can we take it the way it is? Or we should still ask for revision again? And colleagues, I must tell you that at this point in time, the editor, the chief editor, and the executive editor can choose to go through can choose to take you through another process of review by sending it to another set of reviewers. Why do they do this? Because many people will say, oh, I have submitted to this journal. They have reviewed the article, and they sent it back to me. I have done the review the first time. Then they sent another round of review that I should review it again. That they sent it to another set of reviewers for the second time. And now they are coming back the second time and say, I should revise the review of those reviewers. Let me find out if there is anybody in the house who have experienced that before. I want to unmute the mic now, and I will tell you why. Has anybody experienced this, colleague? The mic is unmuted.
Yes, Doc, I'm currently experiencing it.
Okay.
Currently,
All right.
even though, after our last training, I think I posted something. Ikenga Jonah accepted the article I submitted way back.
Yes, you said it.
It was with minor review. The review was just minor, which I
Okay.
did, and I returned it. It's a Q1 journal. I resubmitted. The next thing I got is send back how you did the correction that was recommended by the review. So I sent back everything I did, the way I did it,
Okay.
plus, in fact, they wanted it on a table. This
That
is
is the idea.
the
That's the idea.
reviewers' comments. This is how I did it. So I sent it back like that. Reviewers' comments, my own approach like that.
Okay. Okay.
Then since I returned it, all I got from the editor is, uh, "Dear Dr. Ikwemugu, thank you. We've received your resubmission. The editorial board will still sit over your paper. So I'm still waiting."
You see now, colleagues, you are on the right path, and there is a ray of light at the end of the tunnel. That is a good one, and this is one of the things we teach in our training, that we make sure that while you are when you are responding to reviewers, there are guidelines you should follow. So now you see that what I'm saying is in sync with your experience. So, colleagues, when it gets to that point, the reason why you have to do 1 or 2 rounds of review, one, it could be as a result of the fact that the first submission of revision you didn't do it in a way that they expect. Ideally, when you are responding to reviewers, you should respond to them point by point, whatever point each of them. You state the point, you address it, you state the page on which you address it, or pass even the paragraph. These are what are expected. On the other hand, if that is not the case, one of the reasons why you can have such case is because for those journals to keep up with their ratings, with the level they are, being top journals, they are expected to carry out rigorous peer review process. So even if in the actual fact there is nothing wrong with your manuscript, you will be surprised that you are still, even after the first review, which is a minor review or moderate review, you will be surprised that they might still send it back to you for another round of review. Why? They want to keep up with that rigor. They want to prove and show that our process is rigorous, because the body that qualifies them to be in that rank also review their activities. Colleagues, are we there?
Yes.
Yes, we are here.
Yes, we
Yes, we are
are.
here.
Yes, we are here.
They
Yes.
also
We are here.
Yes.
they also thank you. They also review their activities. So when they get to their back end and they want to review, they want to see whether they only do one pass off. I mean, they just review once and off it goes. If they review 10, 20, 50, articles, and they find out that they all scale through on one round of review, they may be called to question. They may reduce their rank. They may remove them from the list. And colleagues, no journal want to do that. No journal want to do that. Want to go through that experience, because it takes a journal to be enlisted on Scopus minimum of 5 years. And that 5 years is going to be hard work. You must have crossed the T's and dotted the I. So if a journal had sacrificed 5 years 10 years, some 15 years before they can get enlisted on Scopus as a Q1 journal. They want or platform. They don't want to risk anything that will bring them down. Nobody wants to do that. For example, a journal that is charging as much as $3,000. Now, just because their process is not thorough, they bring them down. No, it's not done. Nobody will want to risk that. So they would rather reject your article than losing their status. That's how it works. So, and that is why you see the reason for the rigor and you see the reason why it seems difficult sometimes to publish in such article. But does that mean this is not doable? It is doable. So the moment the article gets to the executive editor or the chief editor, it will decide after the number of rounds they choose to review. Eventually, if everything is okay by them, then they send it. They accept the article. You receive an acceptance letter. Like the woman that spoke to us just now, the next thing you should expect is an acceptance letter. In many cases, it is always like that. But there are exceptional cases, colleagues, exceptional cases, whereby when an article has been reviewed 2 times, it still gets rejected. Yeah. So please, let's just have this at the back of our mind. I'm taking us through this route this morning so that when we start writing and we want to submit or whatever it is that we are writing now, we should know the process is going to go through, particularly when you are submitting to a very good journal. This is what you should expect. And I can tell you, this process will not take a week. This process will not take a month in many cases. So it can take 2 months, 3 months before you get feedback, or even more, some 6 months, some a year. It depends on the frequency at which they publish. Some publish quarterly, some publish 3 times, after 3 months. Yeah, that's quarterly. Some also publish biannually, some publish annually. It depends on the article and the journal you are dealing with, and you must check all of this before you make a decision of submitting to them. There are journals that are credible also that publish every month. Now, when I say they publish every month, they call it rolling and continuous basis. Rolling and continuous basis means the moment your journal article and manuscript comes in, they send it to a reviewer, and that process can take 3 months. But the fact remains, or more, but the fact remains that they keep having publications every month. Issue, let me put it that way. They keep having issue published every month. So it simply means if they receive your article today, they queue it. It's going under publication. I'm sorry, it's going under it's undergoing the process. But at the end of the day, it is not going to wait for 3 months or 4 months. If it's done within 2 months, you can be very sure that the month that follows, they publish it, as long as they have somebody that can review it. So, and of course, it doesn't mean that their publication is also not credible. So let us not mix things up. There are credible journals that publish on monthly basis, but it doesn't mean that you submit today and you will get it published next week or next month. That's not what we are saying. It will undergo the normal process, but it keeps coming as they are getting it, processing it. Manuscript, they are publishing it. They are not waiting until after 3 months, that's the word, before they publish. They are not waiting until, okay, we are publishing in June or July. No, they are not doing that. That's what I mean by monthly publication. It's different from predatory journal, where you submit your article today, your manuscript today, and they look at it, and the next thing you receive is an a banking statement where you can, a banking detail where you can make payment. And by next week, they say your article is published. That's quite different. Let's get it correctly. So colleagues, your article will go through 3 gates when it gets submitted to to an editor. When you submit to a journal, the editor will look at it and is going to pass through these three gates, which I've earlier mentioned. One, the editorial screening process. And statistic has it that 30 to 85 of submissions, they don't get to reviewer. It all depends on the type of journals, meaning that in some journals, 30% of submissions to them don't get to, they reject it almost immediately. It is called death rejection. At that point, it is at the stage of editor screening. The editor will look at it and see, is this worth publishing or not? He makes a decision almost immediately anytime he checks such article. Because I must say that it is possible for you to submit a journal, an article, and you get to a journal. When you get to a journal, you may not get a response a month, 2 months. That means it is possible for the editor to have a lot of work he's dealing with. So when he gets to your turn, he only has split seconds to decide whether that work is worth publishing or not. So we should take note of that. So the death rejection in top journal is between 30 and 85%, particularly in top journals such as Nature, Science, and Cell. Then the peer review process is another gateway. If the editor has approved your work, it passes it to reviewers. And that is where the rigor of your work will be established. That is where the reviewer wants to see your contribution, the clarity, and how your work is, whether your work is worth publishing or not. Then the next gate is the editorial final decision. Now, at this level, when the reviewer have reviewed the work, it comes back to the editor. The editor will take the final decision. And like I said earlier, colleagues, it is not the onus lies on the reviewer, on the editor, whether to accept the work or not. But one thing you should note is whatever makes your work to pass through the editor's table to the reviewer, you have 50% chance of being published. So the other 50% will be determined by the quality of your manuscripts. Let's take note of that. So now you can see that it is not something it's not a straight line process. And for you to tick the boxes for these individuals at these gates, you need to make sure that you know exactly what you are doing. And that is why we choose to go this route this morning. I'm saying it again. We can continue with the introduction and move to literature review, but we found that it is necessary for you to know the terrain you are playing, the terrain in which you are playing. You need to know what is going on behind the scene. Because if we go directly to expose you or introduce you to those processes of writing without letting you know what the gatekeepers expect and what they do, you may not be able to position your manuscript in a way that satisfies their requirements. All right. If we look at the reasons why rejections often occur, you will find out that they can be categorized into 3 categories. 1, fit and framing category. 2, evidence and method category. And 3, craft and compliance category. What is a fit and framing category? This simply means if you write a manuscript, for example, let's say you write a conceptual manuscript and you submit it to a journal in your field, particularly a journal that the title seems to resonate with by your own estimation. Oh, this journal is in my feed, it has this name, and one of the titles of my paper, one of the constructs or one of the keywords in my title resonates with the name of the journal, and you submit it. What if that journal does not publish a conceptual paper? Have you found out? if the journal publishes conceptual paper, no matter how sound that manuscript is, it will not be published. It will be rejected. For example, there is a journal called Diabetes. That's the name. Diabetes. If is a US-based journal, if you publish anything that is outside the scope of that, even though it is in health, and you send to them, they will not publish it. If a journal says we publish empirical article alone and you submit theoretical article, it's not going to be published, no matter how sound. So on many occasions, people will say, oh, but my friend publishing, my colleague published in this journal, I submitted and it was rejected. Have you found out why? Whether you are within the scope. Another thing is editors want to be sure that the quality of your manuscript also serve the purpose of their readership. They know the people that read articles from their journals, because many of these journals are being subscribed to by many institutions. They make money from institutions in millions. And before any institution can settle to subscribe to them, they will check the quality of what they are producing, what they are publishing. So they too, they want to be sure that, okay, our audience, are they satisfied with what you are bringing? If you are satisfied, if they feel they will find value in what you are publishing, they will accept it. Otherwise, they will reject it. Another reason why articles are being rejected is evidence and method. For example, if your methodology is not sound enough, your article risks being rejected. And approximately 40% of journals that are rejected are being rejected for this reason. Another thing that is so important, if you want to publish in credible journal, in top journals, is there must be novelty. There must be a contribution that is outstanding in what you have done. I remember sometimes I was in an institution, and it got to a point that the department have to decide. One of the lecturers just stood up in a defense and said, guys, what are we doing in this department? All the students are doing almost the same topic. What is the correlation between this and that? So and so as a correlate of so and so. So as a factor of so and so. Are there no better research to be done? Does that mean there is nothing to research again? So the same thing goes for article writing, colleagues. If you are writing an article and there is a distinct contribution or novelty, you can be very sure that that article will be rejected. So many of the articles that were rejected, approximately 52% of articles that are rejected, they are not adding anything new to what we already know. So, and this always happens in most cases. I told you earlier that it is possible for a reviewer to have reviewed a work and send it back to the chief editor. If the chief editor sees that this work, fine, it passes the test of the reviewers. But as far as we are concerned about novelty, contribution, something new. We can't find anything new in this journal or in this manuscript, so we can't publish it. So your work must have novelty. What about craft and compliance? 18% of articles that are rejected were rejected based on poor language, low language quality. And of course, not having enough or clear-cut ethics or consent statements. There are people, people just believe that as long as they are not dealing with human being or dealing with chemical in process of data collection, they don't need all of this. You need ethics. You need to declare how you did that work ethically. If you need clearance, ethics clearance from an institution, let it be included. If you include, if you are doing, even if you are doing a table study, such as review, you may still have to state that this study does not require human participants or participation. Nevertheless, we are consistent with the rule, the ethics guiding review by being objective, by establishing personalization, positionality, I beg your pardon, by declaring positionality, by declaring that no bias influence the way you interpret the text that you reviewed. These are very, very important. So it is important for us to know why we can be, the cluster that your rejection might belong to out of these three. Is it fit and framing? Is it evidence or method? Is it based on craft and compliance? You can ask that question. And during our outreach, we told you, colleagues, come with your manuscript, come with your, the work, even the one you have published. Everything we are discussing right now, benchmark your study with them. Benchmark them with your study. See if your study reflects everything we have been talking about. Okay? So how do you go about correcting all of this? When your manuscript gets rejected without review and there is no comment on the findings, it could be that that article does not fit within the scope of that journal. So what do you do? If you still want to publish there, you will have to make sure that you restructure the title, the work in a way that speaks to that journal's scope. Then, or you take it to another journal. You have two options. All right. Then what if a reviewer declare in your work and say this work is incremental or no novel enough? Incremental simply means maybe you only have something not so striking, but it's confirming what we already know. That's incremental. And it also means not novel enough. So in that case, it simply means your work has no novelty as it should be. And how do you get over this? Colleagues, there are markers, there are signposts, there are indicators that when you write an article, every paragraph should call the attention of the reader to the fact that you are making an important point. For example, you can't afford to write the gap paragraph in a way that is so shoddy and woven into the midst of text. You don't want to do that. So you need to make that, the distinct paragraph that are of value, you need to make them distinct in your write-up. You want to show this, for example, in the introduction, you want to tell us what is the striking thing, the striking thing that warrants significance. What is that thing that is striking? What is the significance? Tell us the problem briefly and perhaps the consequences. Tell us what others have done. When you have told us what others have done, tell us what they left undone, the gap. Let the gap be distinct. Don't just weave it into the midst of the text. When you're done with the gap, what exactly do you want to do? When you are done with that, what is your roadmap? If you like, you can tell us how the subsequent session unfolds. That is what makes for a good introduction section of an article. Those are the components. Very, very important. So we are saying whenever there is no novelty, you will have to state the gap and do exactly all of the things I have mentioned. You will have to make sure that you tell us what is known. Tell us the gap. I mean, previous study, the gap, and what they didn't do. This is very important. What about reviewers' question that's, that borders on design, sample, or statistics? In many cases, they are often the work of the reviewer to do this. And when they do it, what they expect is methodological rigor. So what do you have to do? What you have to do is to ensure that you justify every choice that you made when you are writing. You make sure that you follow reporting protocol. Those who are in health science will understand what we mean by consult and strobe. These are styles of reporting. We have Prospero also as one of those framework for reporting research in health sciences. Prisma is for everyone that wants to write a systematic literature review. And for other fields also, we also have, the IMRAD structure, whereby you, at the method section of your article, IMRAD is introduction, method, discussion, and IMRAD is introduction, method, results, and discussion. And if you want to address your method, which is what we are talking about right now, you will have to detail how you went about the study, right from perhaps the approach or the paradigm, as the case may be. You move from there, and whether you are using procedure also, you have to detail the procedure for those who are in sciences. That's exactly what we are talking about. You have to follow those process from paradigm to approach to method and all that. Then comments cluster. When there's a comment on cluster or English, you just have to make sure that colleagues, it is very important for us to know that as long as you are not you are not a native English speaker, it is almost impossible for you to write for native English speaker and they will accept your write-up almost immediately. Thanks to what is it called now? Thanks to Grammarly, thanks to Grammarly, thanks to Coolbots, thanks to ChatGPT, and all the rest of them. But beyond that, if you use them to review your work or to correct your grammar, you will find out that sometimes they may end up being picked as AI generated. So it's really unfortunate that in this part of the world, we don't have enough funding to do research. The ideal thing is when you are done with your manuscript, before you submit to a journal, send it to a language editor who will carry out a proofreading and language editing on your work. Sometimes critical analysis may have to be done on your work also to make sure that it aligns at least closely to how a native English reads. This is very important. So now, if you receive messages or receive a feedback that's in form of desk rejection that has to do with similarity, that means the plagiarism is on the high side, or you don't have ethics approval or statement, that is a compliance problem. So what do? You are expected, after a language editor will have worked on your work, you are expected to run similarity check using any tool of your choice. Then the next thing you do is when you run it, I remember when I was going to submit my PhD thesis, I finished writing. I submitted to my supervisor. And of course, the supervisor will have to submit it to the university. But I sent that manuscript. I sent the PhD thesis to him. And after 3 days, I remember I did not run the plagiarism check of this document. I was like, hey, how am I going to do this? My thesis was 299, approximately 300 pages. So I told him, Prof, please don't send this here to the university. Let me quickly run the Turnitin and the plagiarism check. And lo and behold, as at that time, there was nothing like AI. So I sent it to him. Sorry, I asked him to let me do it quickly. So I quickly did it because we have access to it. And lo and behold, it turned out to be 6%. I was so happy. But before then, I was apprehensive because though I need what I did, but at the same time, you never can tell. So it came out 6%. I was so happy. Quickly, I sent it back to him. So, colleagues, one of the things that you need to do also is to ensure that you run the similarity check before you send to any journal. So let us quickly see why many Global South articles face rejection. Why? Or does anybody have, before we get into that, does anybody have that notion also? Does anybody, I'm not trying to create an impression that is not obtainable here, but for many reasons, that seems to be the case in some cases, that people that publish from the Global South, they do face strict, what do I call it now? It's like a hurdle that is difficult to scale. Of course, I explained some of the reasons why that happened. Knowledge gap is one of them. And do we have anyone that wants to that share the same sentiment that sometimes journals or manuscripts from the Global South get rejected? They seem to get rejected. Anyone?
Hello, Doc.
Doc, hello, Doc. I raised my hand
Please,
earlier.
I want
Can
to.
I comment?
Okay.
Hello?
I don't know. Who is talking?
Please go ahead.
Have I permitted to talk?
Earlier. I raised my hand earlier, I think.
All right, please go ahead.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. I wanted to inquire also with the Global South, with the issue of fees. I remember with BMC where I'd sent my article and now I had to pay in Zambian kwacha. I needed to pay about 30,000 and I didn't have that money. So I held to my study while waiting and I was asking other people to help me because it was just too expensive. So that's one of the discouragement they do. So I wanted you to comment on these fees. Is it really, are they trying to discourage us from the Global South so that we don't go ahead? And then the other question I have, when you're explaining about the reasons why sometimes we may not publish, there's a part, I was charging my phone, I missed. You didn't mention it later. You are talking about the 8%. I think I missed that aspect. So you are saying some journals, they only pick maybe 80%. So how do you relate to what you were explaining that could be the reason why your journal may not be accepted? Sorry, I missed the other part where you're talking about percentages. My phone had gone off. Thank you very much.
All right. You see, those journals that I mentioned that accept only 8% and 7%, they are more or less like 1%, 2% of the, in fact, the topmost journal in those feeds. It doesn't mean that is how it is for every journal. There are journals that accept as much as 30%, 40%. But when it becomes 50% acceptance, sometimes, it can be average journal. Now, I'm not saying that they are accepting 8 and 7% because they have bias towards the South. That's not what I'm saying. If a journal, if a manuscript comes from the South and it merits their level of novelty, they will publish it. So the competition is high. The competition comes from everywhere in the world, because when you manage to publish one article, I've said it in one of our calls before, that a lady after her PhD published an article from her thesis. She's in zoology, and that one article she published in Nature made her an associate prof. One article. So what am I trying to say is, it's about the quality and the standard they have. If somebody from Mozambique, Lesotho, is able to meet that standard, they will publish it. But the people that meet the standard they have set, they are few. That has made it to be like a pattern that they now accept 8 or 7% of articles submitted to them. Don't be discouraged by that. I said it when I started that this is not for those who are just beginning. And I tie it to those who have reached a level in their career, maybe above mid-level career. They are the people that can be concerned about that in case they are facing rejection in that regard. That is for them. But for those who are just coming, who are upcoming, that should not be their headache. But they should also be aware that this is where they are going. That this is where they are going. So we are saying this to be conscious of the fact that these are the realities we are dealing with in academia, and that when you get there, know how to play the game. And what can give you an edge over this is novelty, is the ability to actually exemplify what we are teaching right now. When we started, I said, let's get familiar with the people we are dealing with. Let's go to their brain and know what is there. Then, by then we know the expectation, we can now go back and talk about how to write. Then, your second question that has to do with APC, payment, the fee for payment and the fee for publication fee. One of the things you should check before you even submit an article to a journal is, can I pay the publication fee, the page fee, or the APC? Can I pay it? If you cannot pay it, then look for another journal. All right. Another thing is this. You should there are in every feed, there is no feed you find yourself you cannot publish article free of charge. It is only people don't know. There is no feed. All you need is give them what they want in terms of quality, novelty, and otherwise. They will publish your article. If they publish once in a year, can you stay once in a year? If they publish twice in a year, can you wait? Having given them the quality they want, they won't receive money from you. They will publish your articles. So it's a misconception to say that I don't have money, hence I cannot publish. That's not correct. I know that fact still hold in some quarters, but at Research With Me Academic Consulting, we have made that clear. I think you are part of us before now. During the last graduation, we gave to every participant 20 journals where they can publish free of charge. And these journals are curated journals from Q1 to Q4. If you cannot deal with Q1, go to Q2. If you cannot deal with Q2, go to Q3. If you cannot deal with Q3, go to Q4. So that is exactly what we do, and you are aware of that. So it is better, instead of you waiting for them, right? If you cannot afford that amount, write to them, we are withdrawing it on the ground that you cannot publish, but you cannot pay that fee. But before you do that, the ideal thing to do is to write to the editor and ask for waiver. Are you there? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Yes,
I
sir.
had applied for the waiver, but they never gave it to me.
Do a follow-up.
And I wish to publish in BMC, but from what you are saying, my question was, does it mean that some of these high impact journals, they just have a target of or that the Global South want to even manage to pay the fees, so they just
No,
prefer those
no,
who
no,
manage to
no,
pay.
no, 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 no. The idea, thank you for that. Let me clear that area. The idea is this. You know, why many global countries, global global South country are you know, there's a way the World Bank categorize all the countries in the world. We have the top tier, we have the middle and the low income any countries. And many journals also put this into consideration. So when they find out that your country is a low income country, and it's always on their website. Once we fall in that category, even if that journal is being published, the publication fee is $5,000. They will waive it for you. You publish free of charge, or they give you a discount. So if the journal you are publishing in does not have is not binding on all journals, but some journals do that, it is because they realize that the purchase power, the ability, you know, the wherewithal is not there at equal level for everyone. So if you can give us quality knowledge, we waive the money. That is the idea. I hope that is clear, colleagues.
Thank you very much. It's clear.
All right, you're welcome. Any other question?
Yes, Doc.
All right.
Yes, Doc, I have a question.
Please go ahead.
I submitted my manuscript to another.
Please be more audible. We are not hearing you.
Said I submitted my article to a certain journal. They accepted it, and they review it, and they told me to pay an amount of $150. I asked for a waiver. Unfortunately, the letter wrote to me and said we cannot publish the journal because it did not pay. It means they denied to give me a waiver. Should I advise this as part of a predatory journal or
All right. There is a way you check for predatory journal. Some of those journals, I don't know the name. Let me not generalize. But many predatory journals charge around $100, $150 and all that, $300 and all that. So they are in it for the money. They are not interested in the quality of your work, whether it merits quality or not. So long you cannot pay them, they will not publish it. So we expose students during our training to all of this, how to check whether a journal is predatory or not before you submit to them and all that. So we draw your if they are not publishing your journal article because you are not paying $150, look for another journal and submit. It's as simple as that. But at this time, make sure that you check the publication fee before you submit, and also check their credibility before you submit. And so that is that. I hope that answers your question.
Hello.
Hello.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, sir.
There's one article journal. I submitted it to for the review. They said that the journal stay about 8 months with them. In next 9 months, they now send message to me that your journal have sent for the reviewer. So let's wait for the reviewer. So the second month, the 10th month, I just saw the message. We regret to inform you that our editor have now considered your paper, but have unfortunately decided not to consider it further for publication in the Journal of Contemporary African Studies. The journal is receiving a high volume of submissions and currently has a very large backlog of paper awaiting review. Respecting the time of our valued peer reviews, we are only sending out for peer review the paper which are most relevant to make some years as assessed by journal editor. As such, as a contemporary method, there is currently getting a higher number of paper than usual. Thank you for considering the Journal of Contemporary African Study We wish you all the best in your academic endeavor. And we hope the outcome of this specific submission will not discourage you from the submission of future manuscripts. It's not that they use the style to reject my manuscripts. And when I told my colleagues, they said that they have a lot of the manuscript on their desk. I said that this is time to reject my manuscript. All the because I then if they said go and make the collection of this so thing, I know that I have to make the collection because the original.
All right, let me quickly respond. Sorry about that experience. Of course, it's one of the things that happen. And what you should know is rejection is rejection, no matter the explanation that was given. And it's just that they are very polite. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yes,
They are
sir.
very polite. There's no name given to it other than rejection. So just know that it has been rejected. Don't allow that to discourage you. Pick the manuscript, look for another journal, and submit. And one thing we should know, colleagues, is this. Before you submit a manuscript to a journal, look at the amount required to publish, look at the frequency at which they publish, look at the scope, whether your manuscript fits into that scope. And first of all, it is better to go and check the manuscript they have published. There are some journals that will indicate the name the manuscript was submitted to them and the date it was published. Download or view about between 5 and 10 articles on that journal. Look at the day they were submitted and the day they got published. That will give you an idea of what will be your experience. I hope this is clear, colleagues.
Yes, sir.
That will give you an idea. Instead of you writing and submitting, not minding the amount, not knowing how long it takes them to publish, not knowing anything about their frequency for publication and how those who are published with them have stayed before they got published. This information you need to have the information firsthand before you start publishing at all, before you start considering any journal. Very, very important. All right, let's continue. So while the global south.
Yes, Doc, I have a question.
All right.
I have a question, Doc. Yeah,
ahead.
my question is, you earlier mentioned that an article can take 1 year before it can be published. Then my question is, can one article be submitted in 2 or 3 journals at the same time while waiting for the reviewer who review the journal first, the article first, or can one manuscript be submitted in many journals? For example, you have submitted this manuscript and it has been published in this journal, then you take the same manuscript and submit in another journal for publication. Is it possible?
It is not a good practice. It is not ethical. It's not allowed that you submit an article that has been published in one journal to another journal. No, it is not. It's not allowed. It's not ethical in academia. So you don't do that. The answer is capital no. 2, that you submit to 3 journals. Let's say you have a fresh manuscript and you submit to 3 journals at the same time. That is not also ethical. Why? On many occasions, when you submit a manuscript to credible journal, they will run it through Turnitin, their plagiarism checker or similarity checker. Once that is being run, if they set that machine or that tool to retain whatever has been published or whatever has been tested through it in their repository, the moment you submit to another journal and that journal runs it, is going to pick it that this document exists in the particular repository, and they signal themselves. They can, because the name, that repository, the name of that repository will be indicated. So then they can contact that body, that journal or publisher, to say, we have a manuscript that we are running, and we can see that there's identical manuscript with you that carry a higher level of similarity. Can you confirm Of course, they have your name, they have your email. You have done that in 2-3 places. So they can exchange information and get to know, oh, it's the same person submitting here and there. At the end of the day, you may find out that that article may not scale through. The two of them may decide not to publish the article. They just discard it. And if they want to take it further, if they just want to take it further, if they want to be so ethical, they can write your institution. So it's not good to do that you are committing academic fraud. So let's not do that.
Okay, thank you, Doc. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Good afternoon. I have a question.
All right.
Okay. Thank you, Doc. I want to ask a question. Can one obtain information about the standards and requirements of a journal before submitting a manuscript? Specifically, how can a prospective author know what the journal expects from writers and whether the journal is suitable for their work?
Okay. Let me share this screen for you to see. There is no need doing that. Why? Every journal that is online have what is called author's guideline. Author's guideline. So you are expected, in fact, the number one thing to do before you start writing an article is always good to identify the journal where you want to publish, so that your write-up can be consistent with their guidelines when you are writing. Unfortunately, on many occasions, people don't do that. They just write and they submit to the journal. Now, let us see if we can see author's guideline here. Please, can you see my screen?
Yes, sir, I can see it, sir.
Yes, sir,
So
we are seeing it.
this is a large database of journals now. Let me see. All right. Journal, these are journals. Then this is suggest no search for paper, find why publish with us and all that. I just want to see that place where you see author's guideline. Every journal has it. Let me click on this and go to this journal. All right, please, can you see this screen? Nordic Journal of Studies in Educational Policy. Can you see that?
Yes, sir, we are seeing it.
Okay, this is Taylor and Francis. And if you come down, let's say you have the name of this journal before now, and you just copy it and paste it in your Google or whatever browser you use, you will see, this is what you will see. If you search for that name and you land on this page, the first thing to do is to read about the journal. You can go to about the journal and read about the journal if that's what you're interested in. It will also, in that when you get to that place, you will see the aim and scope of that journal. Can you see it? So it is here you will get to know the type of articles they accept, their focus, and if your focus does not align, then you should not submit to them. As you can see, the journal publishes both theoretical and empirical papers across spectrum. You see that? While some journal will tell you they only publish empirical paper, some will tell you they publish only theoretical and conceptual paper. And some will tell you they publish the three: conceptual, theoretical, and empirical. So, and you will see the name of the editorial board, the chief editor, executive editor, associate editor, and all that. So, in case you want to contact any one of them or you need an information, sometimes they make their email available where you can contact the editor. So, then that is about scope. Now, on the right-hand side, can you see this part, instruction for authors? Can you see it? The instruction for authors means author's guideline. That is another name for it. Can you see where I'm hovering over, please?
Professor, no.
We are not seeing the slide, though.
The screen is not moving. We are seeing just
the slide is not moving
at the beginning.
Oh, you don't mean it. Are you saying? Do you mean I'm not sharing?
You are sharing. We are just seeing.
You are sharing. Only that very first
But it's
page
not
that is still there.
moving. The slides are
Browse by subject. Browse by subject.
Oh, I'm sorry about that. I wanted to share a different screen. I wanted to share a different screen. Can you see my screen now?
No, not yet.
It's project, but I think it's going to project.
Okay, you can see it.
Yes.
We
can see it now, sir.
All right, thank you. So when you get to any journal, go and look for about this journal, or about us. So when you see that, you will see, so at the menu at the top, always also look for instruction for authors, as you can see here, or author's guideline, whatever it is. Read the author's guideline. I'm going to click on author's guideline shortly, but you can see the scope, the focus of this journal. Whatever you see here is the focus, the aim, what they intend to achieve. So get to know this earlier enough. As you can see, the Nordic Journal of Studies in Education Policy is a peer review open access journal covering the relationship between educational policy, practice, and research in different contemporary and spatial configurations. All articles will be made permanently and freely available online, and all that. Publication fee is free of charge. Can you see that? This is an export to anyone in education now. You can publish here free of charge. You can see it's free of charge for authors and their institutions. Now, look at this part. This part says this journal publishes both theoretical and empirical paper across the spectrum. So this is what you first of all get to know that. Is this journal publishing free? Is this journal publishing anything within the scope of my manuscript? This is where you get to know. Then the next thing is to read the author guideline by clicking on instruction for authors. When you do that, it will display a page where everything you need to know. Many times they are very detailed and they are very long. Colleagues, I encourage you, read every word on this page. This is the table of contents. Because if you miss anything, it may be, even though your article is your manuscript is sound, this might be the reason that, I mentioned compliance the other time. Not complying to a journal guideline will lead to rejection. These are the things they need. They need you to read and make sure that your manuscript is consistent with them. So you see, preparing your manuscript, the structure, how many words do they need, the word limit, image description, format-free subscription, meaning that there are some journals that allow format-free subscription. What do I mean? They allow you to submit your article the way it is, pending the editorial decision. So when the editors now decide, you now go ahead and use their templates to format your article. The reason for this is simple. If you had earlier formatted your manuscripts to their type of, to their templates, and they reject it, it's going to be a waste of time for you. Colleagues, I must confess to you, there are some journals that it may take you up to 2 days before you can format your manuscript to their templates, So it's going to be a waste of time. So some journals are very lenient. They will say, okay, don't go through that rigor. Just do a clean Microsoft Word document, send to us. when we are pleased with it, we can now ask you to go ahead and use the template. So very, very important. So these are the information, the checklist you need to follow. Just read any journal, any journal that you want to publish. Ensure that you read their author's guideline before you go ahead. I hope that answers your question, please.
Bless you.
All right. So, colleagues, before we proceed, let's quickly make this announcement. This is one of our, what we are doing currently is our humanitarian service. It's like our corporate social responsibility as Research With Me Academic Consulting. We train free of charge. And at the same time, we have structured training. What we are discussing today, for sure, is not something, article writing cannot be completed in one day. The training cannot be done in one day. If there's anybody that wants to teach you article writing in one day, that person should be, if you look at the person for the second time, it's not something that we can complete on a seat, in a day, in a week, even if you are meeting every day. That is why Research With Me Academic Consulting has decided to organize an 8-week training. We just concluded one in the last month, I think, where we trained 104 participants across Africa and beyond. People from Australia, from Canada, from US, from UK joined us. And our participants cut across, not only undergraduate students, we also find, through our training like this, through free training like this, there are senior colleagues that found value in what we do and they join us. We used to have professors. The first time we have 4 professors. The second time we have 3 professors, the one that we just concluded. We have 37 postgraduate students. I'm sorry, 37 PhD holders. And also we have 64 postgraduate students who joined us. The training is practical oriented, and you will be surprised how much people are giving testimony. One of our students was a woman that spoke with us this afternoon, earlier. She is dealing with a Q1 journal at the moment. And she told us a testimony that our training actually assisted her to have gone that far. And we also have other people who have published. We have people who are also in the process of publishing. We also run training for thesis defense and all that. So for the purpose of this training that we're talking about, if you are interested, I must say, the rate at which people are registering ever since we started this free training is most likely we are going to reach the limit of those we want to train earlier than we think, because currently the number is increasing almost every day. People keep registering every day. I want to quickly show you the page where you can see that you can see the details of that training. Just 1 minute. The training is an 8-week training. We hold it on Tuesday and Saturdays, such that you can have enough time. It holds 7 o'clock West African time till 9 p.m. 2 hours training. So we encourage you, please, can you see my screen? We encourage you, all right, my screen is live, and I'm going to put this link below. If you know you want to publish in Q1 journal or any Q-rated journal, I encourage you strongly, is an encouragement, enroll for this training. After the 8th week, you will be confident to publish in any journal, so long you are ready to give it all it takes. I won't say, I won't sugarcoat it, but if there is anybody in this call who have been part of us, you can attest to that out of your own volition without being compelled. Is the training worth it? If it's not worth it, tell us if it's not worth it. Hello?
The training worth it, sir. It's
The training worth it, so.
It's worth it so much.
So, thank you. It's an 8-week program that so it's going to last for 8 weeks, and we are starting. Please, who is this person interfering with us? The training is starting on the 29th of this month, and I just want to show you the price. You can take a snapshot of it. Let me increase the screen. This is it. So those who are in Botswana, they pay 639.55 Paula. Cameroon, they are paying 26,844. Those in Ghana are paying 610 as Ghana cedi. Then those in Kenya are paying 7,000 shillings. Namibia, $792.39. In Nigeria, it is 50,000 naira. And Rwanda, 70,448.21 franc. South Africa, 750 rand. Tanzania, 14,437.55 shillings. Uganda, 188,460.48 shillings. Zambia, 913.52 kwacha. Zimbabwe, 1,400 gold. West African franc is 28,811.62. UK participants are to pay £40. US participants are to pay $50. While if your name is not, your country is not on this this price list, then you have to pay $50 flat. Colleagues, our promise in this training is to ensure that by the time you are done with the training, you will have a manuscript that is ready for submission after the end of the training, provided you do what we ask you to do. Provided, please mark that word. If you do the assignment, you follow an instruction, you have the possibility of having manuscripts that is completed in your hand. And now, if you want to do a one-on-one training, that goes for $120, and it goes for 120,000 naira for those in Nigeria. In this case, it simply means we are going to sit with you with your manuscript, give you a guide until it becomes achievable and publishable, and with a personalized attention. That is 120,000 naira. By extension, we also coach in groups. In case you have a group, maybe you are a head of department or you are a dean of your institution. In your institution, you can arrange with us. Give us a call. We can work out something. We train your staff member. We train your students. If you are a supervisor and you think you need to work faster because your students are writing things you don't understand, you can organize them. In our midst now, we have somebody that has organized 10 students for us. 10 students for us. The person is on this call. I won't mention name. 10 students, and the person is still bringing more, meaning she has registered 10 students already for this cohort that is coming. And if you want us to take it, personally, we can arrange that and we'll achieve that. So one of the things you can do, one of your best investments this year, let this training be one of it. Because once you get the knowledge once, it helps you forever. And it makes your journey easy when you are supervising students. Very, very easy, because you are no longer doing trial and error. Colleagues, I must tell you, as at last year when we organized this training, the rate at which people are registering for the training now surpassed the way they were registering for it then. So we are starting on the 29th of this month. And we are reaching capacity at a very fast pace. If you want to register, I encourage you to register between now and Wednesday. We use our policy and our discretion to open that early registration for you for that window. And if you register, you are going to receive a book that we have published. That book is on how to navigate your career trajectory. What can you do with your master or your PhD, even if you are not employed? Apart from being a lecturer as a PhD holder, what can you do with it? That book sells for 10,000 naira and $15. if you want to buy it, that's the price you're going to buy it from us. And people are buying it every day. This time around, if you register between now and Wednesday for this 8-week training, you have that book free of charge, meaning you are paying 10,000 less compared to other. You are paying $15 less compared to other as discounts. So between now and Wednesday, you are going to enjoy the early bird. Dr. Enebe, please put the account number in the chat right away. The account number will be put in the chat and in the group for those that want to register. Registration is ongoing. Let this be the gift you are going to give to yourself this year and say, no, this is worth it. And you might be surprised to have published a paper in curated journal before the end of this year. People have done it. This year we have received a number of testimonies from people who are publishing where they, previously could not have published. So this is just a bit of information for you, colleagues. I don't know if anybody have any question regarding that. Then we proceed to our training with our training. Question?
Yes, thank you, Dot.
You're welcome.
Are you hearing me?
I'm hearing
yes,
you.
Yeah, you just mentioned the time 7. Is that 7 p.m. or 7 a.m. Tuesday and Saturday?
7 p.m. Tuesday and
All right.
Saturday. Yes.
All right. Thank you.
All right. So the Dr. Nebe, please do that. She'll put the details in the chat box. I think, let me quickly do something to sir right now. There are links in case I put the link in the chat box. Click on any of the anyone that resonates with you, your country, then it will take you directly to make payment online in case you want to make online payments. And if you want to do transfer, put the account number will be there shortly for you to do that. Yes, please do that. Or alternatively, please, where you have, okay, let me do that. Please, let me just quickly do that while you paste that. I want to paste the link from which you can go ahead and do that payment. What's going on here? This guy.
Yes, Professor.
All right, go ahead, please.
Yeah, I did the pay, but I tried to claim the free copy. It rejected. But it told me that this email is not found in our.
Were you part of the people that made payments as early bird registrant?
Yes,
okay, please reach out to us. We'll simplify that for you, and you'll get a copy of it.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Yes. So, I just want to get something and post. Then we continue, colleagues. All right, this is it. Now, okay, in the chat box, yes, you have the payments details. Even the bank details have been posted now. So everything that you need to make payments is in the chat box. Please go ahead and register. Like I said, the registration, once we reach capacity, we're going to stop allowing registration. That is it. Yes. Okay. I want to share my screen. Please, can you see my screen? Part 2. Are we there? All right. So why? Hello?
We can see it, sir.
All right. So why the Global South face mass rejection? Number one, let's look at the statistics of the global research output. we have 16% of them being published in the Global South, while the Global North has 73% of the outputs. And authors from the Global South has the tendency of over 34% of being rejected when they submit articles to these credible journals we are talking about. These are facts. We didn't make it up. They are research-based. So, and unfortunately, when these articles get rejected, as you can see, we even have it in negative, that the number of people that still go ahead and retry is in the negative. Many people don't even try again. They settle for less. They settle for local journal, predatory journals, and others. And we don't want your case to be like this. When you know what you should know, you will publish where you should publish. That is why registration for that course is essential. Why this rejection? Number one, structural exclusion and parachute science. It is unfortunate that many times researchers from the Global South, Global North, they come to Global South to come and collect data. They get data from us and they don't involve us in the process of that study design, the research design. They don't include many African-based researchers. They don't include them in research design, neither the authorship. So this is called parachute or helicopter research. They just come, they pick, and off they go. This is quite, is quite heart-rending. So it is really unfortunate that we are excluded, even though the data was gotten from us, was gotten from our context, but we are totally excluded. So having realized this, some journals are leading the frontier of the fact that henceforth, anybody in the Global North that want to publish an article that drew data from the Global South country, there must be involvement of authors from the Global South. A study was carried out and it was found out that articles that were published in African Earth Science, which is, which drew their data from Africa, only 30% of the authors in 21 journals from 1973 to 2017 have African authors enlisted in them. These are facts. This is a research. That is to tell you that they only come from the north, get the data, and off they go. And that is why sometimes we too were replicating the same thing. I've been on the feed for quite some time now, and I've realized this over 15 years ago. I remember, not even 15, over 20 years ago. Then I was still not a researcher, but I was a research assistant. We went to a village in Ibadan, Nigeria, to go and collect data. That project was owned by an international organization. And we were recruited as research assistants. I was one of them. Interland, in the village, as a village of the villages. We drove down. We stayed in that village for quite some time. We collected the data over 20 years. And we interviewed, few questionnaires. And I can't forget one of the things that the residents told us then. They said, this is how you people will come here and collect data from us and tell us you are coming back and we'll never see you again. And truly we collected the data, we never went back. We just submitted it to the people that sent us, and that was all. They paid us, and that was the end. So we should not always replicate that. We should do research that has impact on the people that we are collecting data from. That is the essence of research. It's a story for another day, though. Another reason is this. Why articles from Global South gets rejected: language, infrastructure, and mentorship gap. I've said it earlier, many of us are non-native English speaker. When you have a manuscript, give it to somebody who is either a native speaker or somebody who is a language editor. The person can even be from your country, but the person is an expert, have been trained, a linguistic that choose to become a language editor. Look for them and let them read it, make corrections. If you want to use Grammarly, Coolbot, ChatGPT, be ready for the work to be flagged as AI written. Be ready for that. And if that is the case, also be sure that the journal you want to publish to, you declare it in that article that this article was upgraded, was the readability and clarity of this article was attained using ChatGPT version so and so, Grammarly version so and so, Coolbot version so and so. And this is what I use it for. Be detailed about it. With that, they can waive it. But if they are very keen on AI detection and you did not declare it, you cannot go back to them again after they have detected it and said, oh, truly I forgot. They would, many journals will not take that because they will see it as dishonesty and not being transparent. So if you know you want to do that, go ahead and make sure you what do we call it? Must be there. That declaration must be there that I use so to improve the reliability of this work. So that is that about that. Another thing is the second point, which is editor-author proximity. This one, as a matter of fact, I've been very careful not to say this in public, though it can happen, but there are no enough evidence to support the fact that journals are biased towards, or even, let me not say there are no evidence, but it is to some extent not, I won't say it's not something that I'm trying to avoid that sentiment as much as I can. What do I mean? That an author is black, that an author is black and the reviewer is white can make him to reject an article. That is not valid enough for me. I know that sentiment exists. And of course, a professor was mentioning something similar in one of the events that I attended in the past. The professor said, there are journals that will not publish any manuscript that does not emanate from the global north. Why? It is all because they want to keep that epistemology hegemony, meaning that good knowledge can only emanate from the north. So they make sure that we don't give space to anybody from particularly Africa to occupy a space here. This is not, I don't share that bias. Of course, it can be a reality. I'm trying to say this so that it won't be said that Dr. Sasere said that journals that have white, that are owned by whites don't allow black to publish. I didn't say that expressly. I think I have edged it. Please, let us take note of that. I'm not selling that ideology. I've said it. I don't share that sentiment. So long you can give the knowledge that is required. If they choose not to publish your article, go to another journal. That is not ethical. Even those that seem to be practicing it is not ethical. So that can happen. Somebody was saying that, the professor was saying that people from the Middle East, the Middle Easterners now find a way around that. What do? If they want to publish in such journal, they will go and look for a non-existent person that bears a white name, and they just put that person's name there. And before you know it, it gets published. The manuscript gets published. I wouldn't encourage anybody to do that for any reason. There are alternatives. All right. What about infrastructures? Particularly when schools don't have enough infrastructure, institutions don't have enough finance that can support them. And not only that, if the mentorship is not there, which is one of the things you are receiving right now. We have seen people who have published 10, 15, 20, 50 articles who still attend our training and they find it valuable. Those professors I told you, when somebody becomes a professor, you don't need article for promotion anymore, but they still want to add knowledge to knowledge, if not for anything, for the sake of supervision of their students. So how much more those of us who are not yet professors? And again, I circle back to our training. If you have not registered, if your friend register and come to tell you in December that I register and now I'm publishing, one of our students was telling me this morning, in the morning, just called me and said he needs journals, 5 journals that can publish this article, particularly within this scope. He said she has 5 articles ready now that you want to publish. If not because it's a private chat, I can show you our chat, 5 articles ready to be published. So it's left to you, colleagues. So that is that about that. If you want to leave this circle of rejection, please let us do what is needful. Let's go into the skull and the brain of an editor right now. How do they think? 1, they are in for business, they are in need for business. They are triage officers. What they want to see is, can we protect the readership of our journal? Can we sustain our identity? Those are the things that comes first for them. Is the article that you're supplying to them, you are giving them, can it give us, I've explained to you, they are also being vetted, rated, and audited. So they want to be sure that those who are subscribing to them, what you are giving them is of interest to them. That's the number one thing. Does it give us what we need? So that is that about that. Screening happens in minutes, like I told you earlier. Once they are able to lay their hands on your manuscript, they look at it in 1 minute, 2 minutes, 1 minute at most, they decide whether it's a good fit for them or not. So, and why are we saying this? You should be very sure that whatever you are giving them, the moment they cite it, they see it, and they know this is for us. That is the essence of this. So know how they think. They are in need for business. They are in need for reputation. They are in need to sustain themselves and remain at the top. So whatever you are giving to them, make sure that it fills the scope of their journal. Make sure that it helps them to build identity that sustains them. Then make sure that you give that impression that make it possible for them in 1 minute to decide whether to send your work to a reviewer or not. And colleagues, what can determine this? There are things that we train during those training. For example, last week we talked about hook. We talked about how you can, we are still going to touch on this in today's training. I'm rounding up on this slide. We move to the other one. You see, it is important for you to know what are the elements that make up every part of an introduction. Of an article. Introduction, literature review, method, results, discussion, and individual conclusion. There are frameworks that guide how you write all of this. I understand many people write and get published by trial and error. It's quite understandable. But you will find out the moment you want to leave that shore and proceed to a higher climb, you will find, and sinner climb, you will find out that the story will become difficult, a different thing. And that is why you see people, they keep pushing and pushing, they never break through. Rather, they relapse back to their previous cycle of publication. You don't want to be in that cycle. Then, finally, editors are the final arbiter of your manuscript. Even when a reviewer said reject, they can accept. Even when a reviewer said accept, they can reject. Get to know that. They hold that power. Then, another thing is, when you are dealing with them, there are certain things you need to bear in mind. Of course, they don't have all the power, they don't have all the knowledge sometimes to scrutinize your work in detail. And you may be surprised that you might be a professor now, and the person that is reviewing the editor of a journal can be a doctor. Of course, as a matter of fact, that's the doctor is just the benchmark anyway. It is promotion and job description that bring people to professorship and not the rest of them. But the fact remains that what I'm saying in essence is the editor might not be as knowledgeable as you are in that field, and that is the essence of reviewers. But at the same time, you need to make sure that certain things, because they have worked in that terrain for a long time, they are familiar with the pattern. Even though they may not be able to understand your work 100%, they are familiar with the pattern, such as the study design, sample size, statistical rigor. On the surface, there's what is called construct validity, there's what is called surface validity, and all that. If on the surface, they cannot, if the surface validity is not in your work, you can be very sure that you'll be rejected. So they decide right there and then. They may not be able to, they may not understand it in depth, but if you're unable to communicate it in a way that is visually appealing, it may, and mark exactly, they have templates also. Some you have methodology, you have, all those things are in their template. If it doesn't fit in, they reject it. So it is important to know that the clarity of your article, we just spoke about English and all that, not being a native speaker, they look at these things. There are markers in different components of an article that will show to them whether they can proceed with it or they should not proceed with it. This is very, very important. So, for example, let's take introduction, for example. Markers such as the very first paragraph, making a statement that is staggering in form of a hook, you are able to establish significance. You move from there, the problem is clear. You move from there, the opening paragraph is telling us previous studies have done this. You move from there, you tell us the gap, you made the gap clear that despite this gap still exists. You move from there to your objective. Those are markers that they are looking for. Not that everything is just woven up and they cannot, there's no clarity at the beginning of your paragraph as to what the paragraph is addressing. All of these are very, very important. When they see it, it's a turn off if it's not there. And you are expected to disclose if you receive funding. Your ethics also should be declared. And also, your results should not be ambiguous. Your methodology should not be ambiguous. Your cover letter should be on point. Many of us may not know about cover letter and the power it conveys. A cover letter is your love letter to the editor. It's the love letter because it is in your cover letter that you will state the title of your article, the motivation, the title, the rationale behind it, and why the author should publish it. Very, very important. So that is one of the things they read. That's what they read first. When they read it, okay, that gives them an idea of what the article actually contains. You talk about the novelty of it and the contribution it's making. So before they even read your manuscript at all, they look at that. Colleagues, please just give me 1 minute. Sorry. So the cover letter is the love letter you have to the editor. Make sure it does the work that it must do. Ensure that it covers the title of your work, the gap you covered, and the contribution the study is making. All of these are going to be made available in their full form during our full training. So what about the reviewers? We're coming to the end of this slide before we move into the area where we're going to do a bit of practical, and we'll give you what to do also. Now, how do reviewers think? Colleagues, let me find out if you are still here. Okay, how do they think? The reviewers think a little bit different from the editors. What a reviewer wants to see first is the methodology. They want to see if the design, the methodology, the start, anything you do under methodology, if they are scientific, if they can hold water, if it's something that we can say is credible, because that is the process, that's the procedure. So before they start talking about, oh, what is your finding? We want to know how you did it. So then they want to see the theory you use. How did you use the theory? Does it resonate with your work? What about your contribution? Does it have novelty? Does it reflect novelty? How did you frame it? Of what significance is the essence of the entire work? Are you able to show us that in the work? And they also want to see whether you write the work in a way that has clarity, that synchronizes well, and that have good coherence. So these are the percentages of how, many of the editors will first of all address your work or review your work. They pay attention, 31% pay attention to methodology. They want to be very sure first. And from there, the next attention goes to theory and contribution. And of course, 29% of attention goes to writing and presentation. And this is the basis from which your work will be evaluated the first time. I mean, on the surface before they go deeper. Many of them, that's what they will do. So colleagues, ensure that you are able to address this area, adequately enough in your study. All right. Then another thing is this that we need to understand. Reviewers are not being paid for this job. Many reviewers are not being paid. They do it free of charge. And when they do this, for example, currently now I have 2 articles that I'm supposed to review, one from a Q1 journal, one from not curated journal, but it's a credible journal. And they have reminded me, they gave me 2 weeks to review the article. And they have reminded me recently that I have 5 days to go to review that article. And here I am, I have tons of things to deal with, but I still have to do it. Also, they gave us the opportunity of asking for extension for another 5 days or thereabouts. What am I trying to say here? Reviewers have tons of work to do. They have less time to review sometimes if they are very busy. So what do they resort to? They just resort to doing a surface review of your work. Meaning they may not read that work in depth. They just look at those markers I was talking about. They just, they just scan through. And with that, they can make wrong judgments. So there are things they are looking for in your article. If you don't position them where they should belong, a reviewer that is under pressure from his institution and under pressure from a reviewer, such reviewer would rather give more attention to his career and give less attention to a reviewing work. So what do? They just can't read and look for certain markers. And it is when you know how to write articles, colleagues, it is when you have learned and mastered the art of article writing that you will know how to position those markers where they should belong. Even somebody can read the entire article in 3 minutes and the person can make sense of what you have there. So for somebody who is unable to express himself in the article writing but has quality, has substance, let me put it that way. The person has substance in the article, but you don't know how to communicate it. If your article falls in the hand of a reviewer that is under pressure, you can be very sure he will not recommend an approval. And that is why it is very important for you to know how to write without doing trial and error. Okay? That is that about that. So colleagues, try as much as possible. This is second to the last slide here. It's more or less second to the slide. I try as much as possible to make sure that every element of your article, they have what the reviewer and the editor are looking for. Do you get it? What they are looking for, they get it immediately. All right. For example, from the title and the abstract, there are questions that editors want, that they ask. They want your manuscript to ask and to respond to. The reviewers also have what they expect your manuscript to respond to. So what should you do? For example, at the title and the abstract section, the editor wants to know, does this fit to the scope of our journal? The reviewer will ask, what contribution is this making? So what should you do? Colleagues, as I was saying the other time, many times people start their abstract with things like this study investigate, this study explore. An abstract should have a gap within the first to the second sentence. You should have a gap or a background or a purpose must be established why you are doing this. What do we know? What is missing? And tell us what the objective is. So people just start with this article, so this article did this, this study did. No. We must know what is obtainable. This is one of the things we did during our training. What about introduction? Your introduction must answer the so what question. That is, we know some things about this field. Nothing is new. So what are you bringing in that is new? You must tell us in your introduction. Then that is for the reviewer. Sorry, the editor rather. For the reviewer wants to see, is there any novelty in what you are bringing in? How does it compare to the previous knowledge in this area or findings? And for you to address that area, ensure that you add explicitly paragraphs on previous studies or sentences on that named previous studies and tell us what they did not do and what you intend to do. That's where novelty comes in the introduction. What about method? Like I told you, many of the research of the editors, they are not as knowledgeable as you might be in that field, but they also have the way they have a superficial to some extent of what a good manuscript can be for them. So they push it to the reviewer. The reviewer wants to see how rigorous is your methodology, because the person is an expert in your field. You cannot escape the judgment of that person. So you should be ready for it and work for it and make sure that it passes their examination. So what do? Make sure that you Justify every choice you made in the methodology session. What about the result session? The reviewer wants to see. I have told you, your result session and discussion session are the major areas where many people that will make sense of your write-up we focus on, particularly discussion. So are you able to present a clear result or findings of significance? And that is for the editor. The reviewer wants to find out if the result you have, if it supports the claim. That is, the claim for example, not only the claim, even your research objectives. They want to see what you have found out. Is that the question you asked in your introduction? Then they want to find out in your conclusion. The claim you made based on that result, do you have enough evidence to support that claim? So it is very good for you to know that a reviewer will want to know that. What about what you should do? Make sure that you report your effect size, your validity, anything that has to do, your validity will have told us that the result you are going to get through this research, whatever you get, we can rely on it. So that should be taken care of. What about acknowledging your limitation? You should acknowledge your limitation. You cannot do a qualitative study and you are claiming generalization. You cannot do a case study and you are maybe a case study of one school and you are now or one organization and you are overgeneralizing. Even though it is a quantitative study, you can still not overgeneralize. Then discussion and cover letter. I've talked about cover letter. The cover letter is the first thing that the editor will see, and they will want to see whether you are making sense of your study to them. And the reviewer, sometimes they don't have access to the letter. It is only the editor that have access to it. And remember, final decision hinges on them. So make sure that while you are writing the discussion, ensure that you don't, you are doing hello, sir. Sorry, colleagues. Fine, thank you, sir. So ensure that, sorry, colleagues, a colleague just came in. So ensure that you are doing justice to it by making sure that, one, you don't overclaim. Two, your study fits the scope of the article, of the manuscript. So, colleague, before you submit, make sure that your work fits within the scope of the journal, and make sure that your contribution is also clear. Also ensure that you have named 2 to 3 close studies where you can establish the gap you have you claim to have by making comparison about what was done and what you are doing. Ensure that you have methodology that is defensible and that you can justify. Ensure that you have made necessary disclosure about ethics, about consent, and about funding, and of course, data availability and conflict of interest. Make sure that somebody has read the work or you have given it to somebody to read, such that you have a second eye. And that's why we are here also, colleagues. If you have a manuscript, because one thing we have found out is many times people are not ready to read your manuscript. And many times people are not ready to let go of their manuscript also. They keep it because it's dear to them. But one of the services we render at Research With Me Academic Consulting is to help you review your work before you even submit it for review. Of course, it comes at a cost. So if you have a manuscript and you want us to help you review, we can do that before you submit it to any journal. So that is it, colleagues. Let's quickly look at what we did last week, which is the introduction, where we stopped. And as at that time, I remember we gave a link that you should go and carry out an activity on that, in that dashboard that we created for free participants. And I'm not sure if anybody attempted that. Is anyone that attempted that exercise among us? Did anybody do that? The introduction, where we say you should go and you craft a concept note. Did anyone try or lay hand on the writing of the concept note? I've just allowed the mic. I've just opened the mic, colleagues. Hello.
Yeah, Professor, it seems we did.
Oh.
You did, but you are not sure.
No.
Did anybody attempt that exercise?
No, sir, I didn't see the link. Oh.
My first day in the program, so
I couldn't. I tried using the link, but it didn't allow me in.
Oh, okay. Let me see. I want to go back there now. We want to talk about what is it called? We want to talk about the introduction. The introduction is the beginning, the very beginning of the article, as you and I know. And the impression you create at that point goes a long way to determine what becomes of the later parts of the article, of whether it is going to be accepted or not going to be accepted. Colleagues, don't waste time. As we are talking now, 4 people have registered. Don't waste time on registration. We are approaching the our targets for this cohort. So now let me go to that place where we did where we ask you to do something. What's the name? Just 1 minute. What's the name again? Not even that. Don't mind me. I'll get it now. Oh, right, I'm there. Free training portal. Now I'm going to make this link available again in the dashboard. I mean, in the chat box. Sorry, I'm posting a link in the chat box right now. Dr. Nebe, there are questions in the box. Please attend to that. So, colleagues, I'm putting a link in the box for you to see. That is where you are to do the exercise. Now, what I want to talk about is how an ideal introduction of an article should look like. And we're going to look at 1 or 2 examples. What are those?
Doctor.
Hello?
I'm sorry, but it seems my chat box is inactive and I'm not seeing anything or getting any communication through it. Could be others. Maybe others are receiving, I don't know.
All right, let's find out from others. Please, can you see that link in the chat box?
Yes, I can
Yes,
see
we can see, but
Free training scholar is visible.
Yes, I can see.
I'm seeing it, but they're telling me premium upgrade.
We are not
Hello.
seeing. I'm not seeing it.
There is a link that shows the image of research with me. Okay. let me put it here for you to see in the general. All right, so what do I do now? Okay, let me use my slide to display it for you to see. I think that would be better. They will write it, yes, you will write it down when I display it on my slide. Let me quickly do that. I've pasted it in the chat, but some people said they are not seeing it. So what I want to do now is to make it, make it what is it called? Is to paste it so that people can copy it, or people can that snapshot it, or yes. Just 1 minute. I want to paste. Okay, I'm increasing this. I want to, let me quickly share this. Please, can you see my screen now?
I think it's working.
Yes. Is it okay?
I mean the PowerPoint.
Yes, the one you have part 5, mapping your manuscript to the thinking.
All right, the last line there. I mean the very last line. This is the address of that's the link. Please, can you copy it or write it down? Come again.
Sir, your screen is blank.
My screen is not. Is my screen blank, colleagues?
No, it's not blank.
Your screen is blank. There's nothing showing.
No, we are still copying. It's not
We
blank.
can see it. We can see it, sir. Mapping your manuscript so they're thinking.
Yes, copy the
Yeah,
last.
you can see part 5.
Copy the last statement. Copy the last line. Rather. You can screenshot it. You can write it down. Either ways. That is what will give you the access. Okay, are we doing that? I'm just exercising a bit of patience.
I have a question.
It's accessible.
I have a question, sir.
Please go ahead.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. I have registered on the link right now, and upon completion, it's taking me to premium access required, not free training portal. And I'm to pay from my country a 50,000 naira fee for the registration. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
All right. So what you do is this: chat the admin, chat either of the admin, and send your proof of payment. Of course, we have received the payment. We've seen it. Just chat us so that we can give you, direct information on the next move. I hope that is clear.
Loud and clear, sir. Thank you.
All right, thank you. So, colleagues, are we done with copying the address?
Yeah, done, doctor.
All right, thank you. So, I will share the screen and go back to where we should be. Colleagues, writing the introduction aspect of your article requires skill. How many of us attended last week training when we talked about concept notes? Did we attend?
I do. I attended.
All right. For the sake of today's class, we will not go.
Also attended.
We will not say much. We will not dwell so much on concept notes, colleagues. We talked about concept notes last week, but for the sake of those who did not attend, let me quickly talk about it for a moment. A concept note, before you start writing article at all, you are expected to have a concept note. A concept note is the blueprint of your article. It comprises of the problem, the gap. What problem do you see? Can you scribble it down in a moment? I mean, maybe in a paragraph or thereabout. What is the gap in that problem? What have others done? What have they not done? Let me open it so that you can see it. This is a portal for those who are attending our free training for now. This is the dashboard we have for you. So in order to make this training not only a lecture, but something that you can relate with, something you can work with, something you can say, okay, after I've stayed for 4 hours, what can I do? Is this just a academic jamboree where we just come and talk? So in order for you to be sure that you understand what we have been talking about and what we are still going to talk about, you should be able to do something. That is the height of it for you. So now if I click on concept notes from that link, remember the link that was sent to you, you will have, this is where it will land you. This is where what you're going to see. But the next thing to do is to look for section 1 activities. You can see section 1 activities here. Colleagues, can you see section 1 activities?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Click
Yes,
on
sir,
it.
we can see.
When you click on it, go to concept note, click on it. When you click on it, it's going to display a form-like interface, like a form. Now, I was saying it the other time that for you to, before you start writing an article, the ideal thing you have to do is to have a roadmap. And the roadmap is the concept note that enable you to document the concept you want to develop to an article. So what you do is to come to this place and choose your discipline. Once you select your discipline, the next thing is to write a working title. Write a working title. Let me see the person disturbing us. All right. Write a working title. Then from there, sorry, where's my, okay. Write a working title. A working title is a tentative title that describes what you want to work on. And you go to background. Give us a background of this issue. What is the context? From there, you move to the problem statement. What is the problem that you are addressing? A problem we have its own components. Of course, let me just talk about background and context. It is always good to give a background and give context to the work so that people can understand what you are talking about or about talking about. How does the problem manifest within the context in which you are discussing? So tell us, then problem statement, tell us that problem in detail. One, you should be able to state the problem expressly by stating something like the menace of A, B, C, D has become a source of concern for A, B, C, D. Then you tell us what literature is saying about that problem. Which literature confirm what you have just said in the first sentence. You move from there to tell us what can we see as an indicator that this problem really exists. This problem manifests in 1, 2, 3 areas. When you are done with that, you move from there to tell us who are the people suffering from that problem or what is likely to happen if that problem is not resolved. And you go ahead and tell us What do you want to do in your study to address that problem? Colleagues, do we get this? That is how to write a statement of problem. What was the problem? State it expressly. What is literature saying about it? How does the problem manifest? What is the consequence of the problem? Finally, what do you intend? Who is affected? So what is the consequence if it's not addressed? Who is affected and what do you want to do? That's what you are expected to write in the statement of problem. Research objective. What are the objectives? What do you want to achieve? Objectives are different from...
Please don't read it again.
Hello?
Please, let's have the sequence again, please.
Come again?
Let's have the sequence again, please.
All right, the sequence. State the problem expressly as it is. That's number 1. 2, what is literature saying about it? Do you have a literature that supports that? How does literature support that claim of the problem you claim to have seen? 3, what can we see? What are the indications of that problem? How does that problem manifest? In what way? When you are done with that, you tell us about what is the consequence of the problem? Who is affected? What is the consequence of the problem? Who is affected? And finally, what do you intend to do about the problem? That is where you begin to say, this study, in view of this study responds to this challenge or this problem, or the observe, whatever, and on and on and on. So that is about the problem statement. That is the framework of a problem statement. What we are giving you now is what we give during our premium training. Well, this is our community engagement. It is still fine. Now let's go to research question. Research question is the place where you will ask questions that will enable us to find solution or to address the gap or the problem you have raised. Okay? Propose methodology. Of course, where you have research objectives, it could be research question, it could be research objective, it can be aims and objective, it can be hypothesis, it can be proposition, whatever it is in your field, put it there. Then we also have proposed methodology. What methodology do you want to use? Colleagues, if you are still at the level of proposal, make sure you address this part very well, because that is where your work will be determined in many cases for those who are writing thesis. And also, if you are writing article, if your methodology session is not in good shape, you can be very sure that the article will be rejected. We just mentioned it not too long. One of the areas that reviewers concentrate on is that area of methodology. So tell us, what paradigm do you use? What approach do you use? What paradigm and why? What approach and why? What design and why? What method? Why? Population? Why? So, colleagues, it is very important that when you are writing your methodology session, you establish the rationale for selection of any component of your methodology session. There are many alternatives to do research. So why are you choosing this? Why are you choosing that? Those people that are going through and undergoing our defense training will understand what I'm talking about better. So that is that. Then tell us the significance or the contribution of this study. What contribution has this study make or will it make? Write it down. Even though you don't know yet, have a foresight and write it. What about expected contribution? Make sure that you also you conceptualize it in a way that shows that if I'm done with this with this research, this is what is likely to be the benefit, the contribution. So the contribution can come in different forms. So that is that about that. I hope this is clear. Okay, so that's concept notes before you start writing. So now if you have done the concept note, you have a clear roadmap as to how you want to embark on this work. And the next thing is start your introduction. Still on section 1 activity, let's go to introduction structure. Colleague, are you there? Can you see introduction structure here?
Yes, sir.
We can see it, sir.
You can see it?
We can see.
All right. Do we have any question up till now? All right.
No question.
Okay. All right. So I click on introduction structure. Colleagues, in every research, if you want to have a good introduction session, it is ideal to allow your introduction to mirror what you have on the screen. One, your introduction should have what we call at Research With Me a hook or a context or a statement that is factual or statistical or intriguing that will make somebody that want to listen to you more on what you have to say. It must be an icebreaker. It must be something that will interest the reader in a way that want to make him to read more. So if you find yourself on this page, drop this drop down arrow and choose your discipline as well. And the beautiful thing we have done here is that we ensure that you have an example of how your study should unfold, particularly next to that drop down arrow. As you can see, introduction structure guide for social science. It also starts from broad or political context, as the case may be, to theoretical positioning, to literature review of key debates, and you move from there to research gap. And you also move to study purpose and significance. And if you want to do a roadmap, go ahead and do a roadmap. I mean, do a structure. What I mean by structure is, if your study does not reflect IMRAD completely, IMRAD means introduction, method, result, and discussion. If there is a variation, you may have to write at the end of the introduction the structure of the rest of the article so that the person who is reading can make sense of that and know how your story unfolds in the article. I'm going to show us an example very soon. Then, so now you can go ahead and write your opening hook here, and you can see you have a tip on how to go about it. If I change this now, it becomes something else. So then what prior study have found, you will have to write it here. You will have to tell us the gap that exists. You will have to tell us the purpose of the study. That is what you intend to do, and of what benefit will it be, which is the significance of the study. And of course, this is what I was saying the other time, paper structure. So here now you will have to tell us how is the paper organized from, after the introduction till the conclusion. What is the arrangement? So colleague, this is exactly what we expect you to work with. Now I am going to switch to an example, maybe one or two examples that will show us how this has been depicted in published articles, so that when you start writing, you can mimic it to write your introduction session. Colleagues, is that clear?
Yes, sir.
Very clear.
Yes.
Okay.
Very clear, sir.
Yes,
loud and clear.
Very clear.
Very clear, sir.
All right. We are going to use an article in the field of engineering And I chose to do this intentionally because if this model is mimicked by you, you can write a very good article, introduction, because the introduction mimics what we stand for. So, of course, there are different styles of writing, but we have found out that this type of write-up often, passes the reviewer and the editorial judgment. I am a reviewer, and I know the requirements that editors want us, to speak to address whenever we are reviewing. They'll give us that guideline. Does the article satisfy this? Does it satisfy that? We have to, whatever decision we make, we have to justify it. So, okay, let me show this screen. Let me display this screen. You will see that even though the article was published in engineering related field, you will see that any discipline can model it, because those things that are very necessary, it map it out. Please, can you see my PDF?
No, sir.
Yes,
Not yet.
sir.
Yes.
Yes, we can. Yes,
Yeah,
I can
good.
see.
That's clear.
Thank you. Now, in every field, there is statistics. Even if there are no statistics, there are facts that you can lay claim on as an evidence that this problem exists, that once you drop that bomb, everybody sit up to listen to you. That once you state that, you make that factual, statistically oriented or supported statements, people want to listen more. This is exactly what depicts what we stand for. Now, for example, in this introduction, this study, let's look at the title. It says, Eco-Hybrid, Sustainable Waste Classification Using Transfer Learning with Hybrid and Enhanced CNN Model. Let us not get confused or get by all these seemingly jargons. What the study simply want to achieve is how to manage waste and classify them. You see, when waste is being collected, in many cases, it does not mean that those wastes are waste in their entirety. It simply means some of the waste can be recycled for different purposes. But in the process of sorting the waste manually, it takes time. 2, in the process, it takes time, and it can also bring about other, health challenges and it can create challenges. So, and it can be cost, it can be, financially burdensome. So the idea now is, how do we use technology to achieve sorting waste? Through transfer learning with hybrid and enhanced CNN model. These are models that has been used or are being used for waste management. So now you will find out that at the introduction section, the author starts by stating something staggering. They say waste generation has steadily increased with population growth and urbanization, rising from 88.1 million tons in 1960 to 292.4 million tons in 2018. Projections indicate that global waste production could increase by 70% to reach 3.4 billion tons by 2050, posing significant challenges for municipal solid waste management efforts. Now, colleagues, you can see how these authors are able to quote statistics that depict the growth of urbanization, and at the same time, waste that accompany that growth from certain period to certain period. So, and also the challenge that accompany not paying attention to waste management. So what does this mean? It simply means this person is able to give us statistics and is able to, within that short period, within that short statement, indicate a problem and indirectly indicating the significance, the necessity of attending to that problem, because if by 2050 this is not attended to, it's going to pose a significant challenge. Now, with the manuscript you have in your hand right now, with the article you are trying to draft right now, can you find a way of making, it might not be statistics, but a factual statement, maybe a statement that is made by the World Bank or a renowned organization in your feed that resonates with what you are saying? Colleagues, am I making sense to you?
Yes.
Very much
Yes,
so.
sir.
Yes, doc.
Yes.
Yes,
And
Doc.
when you are
Yes,
using
you are.
citation, thank you. Unfortunately, this type of citation does not allow us to see this. It is below anyway. The citation, the references are below. But what I'm trying to say is, on many occasions, the citation you should use in that place, they should be citation of authors that are well known, not authors in the village. Why? The reason is because you are making a substantial claim, and the person or the authority you are claiming in that place must be authority that is well acknowledged and known in your feed. If you are not using an author, it simply means that that area that you are working, this brings in another thing for you and for me now. Whatever area you are working in, know at least 10 authors that are leading and have written so well in that area. Why are people like this, for God's sake? Who is this person? Who is Felix?
Yes, it's
The background noise is coming from you. Can we please mute our mic if we are not talking, so that we can have decorum? Now, you can see the way this individual is able, these authors are able to craft this. These are some of the things that indicate that you have depth in this area. And not only that, if you don't have statistics, look for a factual statement that is being supported by a renowned author in that area of study. And if not an author, look for an organization that has authority in that area. like UNICEF, like WHO, like World Bank, name them as much as they are applicable in your field. Because one, you are establishing authority, you are indicating the problem, you are signifying, you are indicating the danger of not attending to that problem. I know this may not be applicable in all cases, in all fields, but if there are things that are applicable, is one, it's either you state a statistics, it's either you state a factual statement, and of course, you have to coin, a statement around the necessity to attend to that issue, that if it's not being attended to, things can go off, out of hand, and certain consequences can be incurred. Now, let's move forward. I hope that narrative is sinking. Now, the author goes forward to say, effective and precise waste classification is a key component of sustainable waste management that has immediate benefits for the environment, the conservation of resource, and the preservation of circular economy principle. I continue. Now, look at how this study can even be, this article can also be written by people in environmental science or people in interdisciplinary study. It's also a good article for it. Now, the usual waste sorting method, now colleagues, you can see that they are making reference to what is in existence. Now look at it. The usual waste sorting method, which regularly involve hands-on human work, suffer from inefficiencies, high operational costs, and limited scalability. What does that mean? It simply means the usual practice we know that involve human being in the process of sorting waste or managing waste. It involves human hands-on. It suffered from inefficiency, meaning it was not sufficient. It's high, it requires high operational cost, and of course, it cannot be scaled, meaning it cannot be expatiated. Then you can see that there is an indication of what was known and what is wrong with what was known or the practice. Remember when we were talking about engineering the other time, we said they often move from problem to solution. Then at the same time, other fields can mimic this also. It still works. I'm aware there are disciplines where you will have to start with maybe introduction, context, and all that. This is also applicable if you know how to write. It's about style of writing. Your ability, because I've read a lot of articles, colleagues, I know what I'm saying. And I found out that there are methods and style of writing that cut across all fields, particularly if you know how to write these things and put your point across. Because what editors and reviewers are looking for is, one, what is the problem? What is the prevalence of the problem? What are we doing that we are not doing well, or that is not serving our purpose anymore? What can we do to be better? This is what we are expected to do. So now I read further. As waste streams become more diverse and complex, there is an urgent need for intelligent. Can you see now? Can you see the way they are ending that paragraph, the very first paragraph, and you see the number of, the paragraph is not much, but you can see the number of nuggets and information that has been packed into it. You can write your own this way, colleagues. You just mimic what is here into your study. And during our training, if you don't have access to if by now you don't have access to this statistic, where do I get it from my feed? We have our dashboard for those who are undergoing premium study. There is no feed you need statistic or fact from that you cannot get it from the back end. Let me just see if I can show you in one minute. You see what I'm talking about. regardless of your feed, you will get statistics or get factual information that can support the study you are doing at that point in time. So all you just do is you go to your dashboard. Where are you? You go to your dashboard and you look at your feed, and you see, okay, in my feed, this, just 1 minute. Now, if I go to dashboard now, you will see something like, what's the name? Please, is my screen, please confirm if my screen is on the dashboard. Please, Doc, can you confirm that? Okay, so all you need to do is to locate a tool called scientific database. This is scientific database. Is a comprehensive directory of scientific research database. Where is it? Databases including PubMed, Web of Science, IEEE, Explore, Justo, and more, and many others. So if you click on it, it's going to take you to a place where you will have access to databases. Is it World Bank? Is it United Nations data? Is it OECD data? Is it IMF data? Eurostat data? World Bank data? Just name it. UN DESA world population, data and prospects, CIA World Fact Book, in health, World Bank, database. So there's no way you can see, according to organizations, World Bank, as far as economics is concerned, this is another, segment. So social sciences, anything, demography, public opinion, these are databases you can draw facts from. What about education? What about agri and food and environment? So you have this is energy and resource. This is market intelligence and academic, engineering, technology, and physics. So there is no field you belong to that you cannot extract facts to write a hook that will hook the reviewer, that will hook the reader, that will hook the editor. So this is one of the things that our students benefit from a great deal. So what am I trying to say, colleagues, is that if you can do this area very well, there's nobody that will read your first paragraph that will not be glued to your work. And once you're able to do that, colleagues, you have a higher chance of, your paper being sent to a reviewer and, of course, eventually being accepted. This is just a component. We only talk about hook now. So now let's look at the next one. The next paragraph is saying, CNN simply means convolutional neural network. Now it is looking at the practice that is in place, and we are going to see how that practice had been improved upon. Now we can say this is engineering, but in your feed, all you need to do is to look at previous study, what they have done, and what they have not done. But before we get into that, it is important to know that this paragraph establish what we know about this area, and at the same time, the inadequacies that surround the existing practice. Now it reads like, convolutional neural network, a subset of deep learning, have proven to be highly effective for image-driven waste classification, meaning that with images, there's a technology that has been fed with enough data sets that automatically determine, that helps separate waste based on patterns. That's what it's saying. In your area, it can be that previous studies have established that A, B, C, D is what we know. I want to be sure that colleagues are following me and they understand what I'm trying to say. So I will not be speaking to myself, and I'm the only one that understands what I'm saying. Colleagues, are you following? Hello, colleagues, are you getting it? I've opened the mic.
Yes, you are
Yes,
getting it.
yes, sir. We're following.
Yes, we are following.
Yes,
We are
sir.
following.
We are following.
All right. Now,
following you,
next
sir.
thing is now I read further. Let me read again. Convolutional neural network, a subset of deep learning, have proven to be highly effective for image-driven waste classification. CNNs can automatically learn hierarchical visual pattern, eliminate the need for manual feature extraction, and improving accuracy across various waste categories, such as recyclable, organic, hazardous, and general waste. There is a citation there. That is citing the work of others. If you are using a form of citation style or referencing style that allow the name of the authors to be displayed with the year, that is what you will see in place of 9 and 10. And you can see most of the write-up, most of the submission that had been made earlier, they all have citation backing them up. Here you have 1, 2, here you have 1, 3, here you have 4, 5, here you have 6, 8. Those are the names of author that supports those claims. And here we have another one. Now, it proceeds. Now, let me make a clarification here. Those who are in engineering are so blessed right now because I'm going to explain something. Why? This is a Q1 journal. Not only that, that's not where I'm going. I'm going to a place whereby I want to tell you that if you are writing in engineering field, this is the exact pattern that your studies should follow. I mean, your write-up should follow in the introduction. You must tell us the problem, the significance, give us statistics if you have it, move ahead to tell us what we know about the technology, what is the deficiency, what is the level of efficiency that you have previously, what is the baseline, and what is the baseline, and what is your benchmark. All of these things, you tell us around this area that this is what we know about this, and that is what is being done in the previous, in this place where we have in the second paragraph. And when you are doing that, you should be able to tell us in details, in figures, with precisions, colleagues, because there are studies you carry out, particularly this one does not have precision, but it has facts right now supported by literature. Not only, but if you are doing a study that has to do with efficiency, you must tell us in precision what is the level of accuracy or level of effectiveness of the previous technology, and what is the baseline, and what exactly are you trying to achieve? What are you benchmarking with? You have to tell us. What have the previous authors, what have they done? What did they achieve with the technology or whatever thing they did with regard to what we are doing? With accuracy, percentage, statistics, anything that shows number and that we can see, okay, this is a marker. If yours will increase that efficiency by 2%, tell us what was previous with the previous whatever. I mean, the previous level of efficiency. Tell us exactly what is going to make a difference in your own. Are you adding 2% level of efficiency to the technology or the practice we know? Precision is the key word here, or facts. All right. Also, colleagues, if you're in social sciences, if you're in medical science, you just tell us in words what have been done, what have not been done, and the gap that is left out. Colleagues, does it make sense to you?
Very much so.
Yes,
Okay.
Doc. Carry on.
So
it does, Prof.
So then the next thing you do is you tell us, you go further. Those in engineering, you always compare what we know to what has been done to improve on that before you now tell us what you are bringing on board or the gap that exists and what you are bringing on board. The same thing can still be captured for those in social sciences, for those in any literary study or whatever, and you tell us your point that this is the deficiency of this. I want to use two extremes now. If time permits us, we are still going to look at a study in acts that does the same thing. So now, you can see in this part, it reads, there is an acknowledgement of the previous study, and improvement over the existing technology. Now you see it says recent advancements have further enhanced the efficiency of this model. Approaches like transfer learning. Remember, colleagues, when you are writing, the keyword in your title should be reflecting particularly in this area, because that is where your discussion center around. And those in education, those in humanities, those in social science, you ask me, what should I use? Your variables and the keyword, that is where that conversation should revolve around. All right. Now, so it says recent advancements have further enhanced the efficiency of these tools. Approaches like transfer learning for knowledge reuse, model pruning for computational efficiency, and lightweight architectures for mobile deployment have been widely adopted, telling us what is known and how transfer learning has been used. Hybrid model combining, you can see citation was made in that place too. Hybrid model combining multiple pre-trained CNN have shown improved robustness, acknowledging the previous technology with citation again. Now look at this. Look at the last paragraph, and the last part I'm going to read in that paragraph. That is a marker. That is a marker. Having acknowledged what has been done, pay attention to this. While architectural innovations, including novel activation, functions, and attention mechanism have led to better performance and performance optimization. All right. Now, what I'm saying is this. The first part of this paragraph told us what we know. The second part is telling us what the improvement had achieved. Again, I read, recent advancements have further enhanced the efficiency of this model. Approaches like transfer learning for knowledge reuse, model pruning for computational efficiency, and model combining multiple pre-trained CNNs have shown improved robustness, while architectural innovation, including novel activation, functions, and attention mechanism, have led to better future learning and performance optimization. Citation was made. Now, let me flip this to those who are in social science, who are in text-based science, text-based study, like humanities, even medical science or any other field, even physical science. In these places, because of the way we have citations, sometimes you can say, somebody will ask me now and say, what if I use according to? In those feeds, people are fond of using according to so and so did this and found this. Colleagues, it is not a good way of writing. A good way of writing would be that your voice should be the one doing the narrative. At the end of any statement that you want to cite or substantiate, let that substantiation on many occasions, 60-70% of time, be at the end of the statement you are making, so that it will show that you are substantiating the claim you made earlier, rather than you cataloging author by saying, according to so and so, 1925, 1930. You are just cataloging author, you are not making any narrative, you are not telling any story. And you cannot see that in this page now, this individual is saying according to, no, they made the narration, they made the claim, they tell their story, they use citation to back it up. Colleague, is this clear? Is that clear to you?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, very,
Yes,
very,
Doc.
very clear.
Okay.
Very
So
clear.
now let's go to the next paragraph. Despite these advances, colleagues, that despite was not used ordinarily. Is a marker, is a color of attention to the reader, to the editor, and to the reviewer, that you are about to make a statement. Remember, the previous paragraph, which is this, say recent advancement. Those in education, in psychology, humanities, social sciences, in other fields, you can say something like previous studies, extant literature, recent studies. All of those things indicate that you are establishing yourself, you are establishing a domain for yourself by locating your work in the body of existing literature to say you are aware of what is going on in this area and what has not been done. Then the next thing will now be, despite these advances, that is to tell you that you have acknowledged what has been done. Now you want to say what is wrong with them. Despite these advances, significant challenges remain. Hello?
No, you can't sleep like that.
Despite these advances, significant challenges remain. CNN-based model often struggle to generalize across heterogeneous environment due to issues like class imbalance, interclass visual similarity, and variability in enlightening and backgrounds. You can see a citation is supporting that. This limitation reduces model effectiveness in real-world applications, particularly in urban settings where the waste streams are highly inconsistent and complex. Citation again. Now, colleagues, you can see how these authors are able to point out what is wrong with the existing technology, despite the advancements. The word despite there was not used loosely. It was used as a marker to call attention to say that something is wrong somewhere. And you know, literally in English, what despite means. Despite is a contradiction of the preceding statement that has been made. When you say despite, it simply means you have made a statement earlier and you want to make a statement that contradicts what you have said, which is where you want to bring out a gap. That's English. And also, this is how it's applicable in research. So, addressing these challenges is vital for the practical. Now you can see they are bringing in the significance of the study again. Addressing these challenges is vital for the practical deployment of intelligent waste classification systems in smart cities and environmental monitoring infrastructure. You can see nothing was said loosely without a citation. Colleague, this is how to write. Not that you write full, in fact, there are some articles you will see 2 pages, no singular citation. Not even one citation. Those are not articles. All right? With increasing emphasis on sustainable development and real-time decision-making, there is a strong need for solutions that are not only accurate, but also scalable, lightweight, and robust against environmental variation. Can you see the way they are technically positioned what they want to do towards the end of the paragraph where they have highlighted a gap? Can you see the sequence, the coherence, the flow? And finally, colleagues, look at the bomb. Here is it. To address these limitations, this paper takes a deep dive into how deep learning can be used effectively for waste classification. Can you see the way they position themselves? Karimat, please exit if you are no longer interested in our training. You are disturbing us. You can see the way they position themselves to occupy the space where they have found gap. And the next thing now is the proposed approach involves systemic benchmarking of 11 state-of-the-art CNN architecture And if you are in any field, the principle is the same. Colleagues, take your mind off, don't be biased against discipline now. Follow the logic. It delivers the same results. Just think around it. How can I coin this, my paper that I have in my hand, to tell this story and follow this narrative? So this proposed approach involves systemic. Now you can see in some places, they will say at this point, they can now state after the first paragraph, after the first statement in that last paragraph, they can say the aim of this study is to, or the objective of this study is to, they are all accepted. So the proposed approach involves systemic benchmarking of 11 state-of-the-art CNN architecture, the development of 2. You can see now that the flow of this world, the flow of this part I'm reading is also adaptable to a separate and distinct aims and objectives. I can as well say that the aim of this study is to propose an approach that involves systemic benchmarking of 11 state-of-the-art CNN architecture. And the aims are to deploy 2 optimized lightweight models of edge deployments. 2, design of a hybrid multi-stream assemble model that integrates features from multiple pre-trained network. Those are 2 distinct objectives. To ensure real-world applicability, the training pipeline incorporates adaptable learning strategies, clear rebalancing techniques, and interpretability mechanism. Can you see that, colleagues? You just tell us, you see that is a description of what you want to do. Just make sure you reframe this and make your work to reflect everything we have been talking about. That's an excellent, introduction. Now to capital. At this point, it is always good, I told you earlier, if your study does not follow the IMRAD structure, it is good to give a structure. And you can see these guys have done it explicitly well. They say, okay, they did that here. Sorry, just a minute. Okay, they did it below, but at this point, what they did here is they made the contribution they have made, they made it very clear. Let your introduction towards the end show what contributions you have made. Very important. What contribution have you made? And you can see here the key contribution of the researcher outlined below. And you may not put your own in form of bullets this way. You can write it in prose form. But I tell you, writing it this way is a way of making it distinct for people to see. Remember, Q1 journal, Q2 journal, what to see your contribution? What did you do? So you don't risk the reader, the reviewer, the editor to be looking for your contribution. Make it clear. You can see how they gave it bullets and they explain it in details. Then they finally move to how the remainder of the session, which is this paragraph that is last, this is the signposting and the structure that we mentioned last week. How the session follows. Section 2, they said the remainder of this paper is structured as follows. Section 1, do this. Section 2, 3, 4, and 5. They have captured everything that's in the study right in the introduction. There's a roadmap. They have established everything they need to establish, colleagues. What can be more beautiful? What can be more beautiful to read? So, colleagues, without much ado, this is exactly what we want to show you today. And we expect you to go to the dashboard, and that's your study. Go and work on it until it represents or resembles what we have done today. We will not be able to proceed beyond now. We are going to allow time for question and answer. But before the question and answer session, if I may ask you, don't leave yet, because you may be leaving a lot on the table.